A change of pace. The most powerful person in the world will be in Australia in a few weeks' time. US President Joe Biden is here for the Quad Leaders Summit and arrives at a very interesting time in Australian politics. Prime Minister Anthony Albanese is preparing to DJ at Kyle Sandilands' wedding. The Voice remains a hot topic. Peter Dutton is on the front foot with migration. From Bondi Partners, former Howard Government Minister Peter McGauran is here. And Peter, I don't know how we squeeze it all in. We will get to the DJing shortly, but Joe Biden running again. We heard that this week. We could have an 86-year-old in the Oval Office, and he'll be in Australia in 3 weeks.
Yeah, look, firstly, his visit to Australia is a very significant part of the Quad, which secures to a very significant extent Australia's national interests and security into the future. It's hard for Australians to fully understand how an 82-year-old man would be re-elected as President of the United States and serve until he's 86 years. But
Trump's not much younger.
Trump's 2 years younger only, so you're right. Look, but in the American system, there's a dearth of choices. For some reason, they have not had a pipeline of your John Kennedys or your Bill Clintons, and they, I think, are landed with the two elder candidates.
It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Now, looking locally here, the pressure on the government is building towards the budget on a range of fronts, of course. Do you expect them to move on lifting the rate of job seeker?
Slightly. They can't afford to move significantly, even though their own advisory group recommends a significant change. So it's $376 a week compared to the age pension of $500 a week. The advocates want a job seeker or unemployment benefit to be 90% of the pension. Clearly, the government has said that you can't live on $49.50 a day. They will increase it slightly, I suspect, but their list of spending priorities threaten to swamp them, such as NDIS, defence, aged care, childcare. There's a long list of election commitments that will take precedence.
That makes us think about Peter Dutton, and look, he's facing a really challenging time. We know that. What would you like to see him come out with in his budget reply?
Very difficult assignment for any opposition leader, because you have to attack the government, find fault with the budget, but at the same time you have to be constructive, which means you have to go into some detail. I would like to see him concentrate on areas that I don't think the government will properly tackle. Fiscal discipline, growing debt, innovation, productivity, reward for those who have a go in small business, tradies, and so on. So I think he has to revert to the key principles of the Liberal Party, but at the same time find flaws in the government's own budget.
He probably came in quietly after taking over from Scott Morrison, but you can't be critical of the fact that he's not having a crack at the moment. He is, isn't he? Like on The Voice, on migration, he's trying to get on the front foot.
Peter Dutton doesn't lack conviction or political courage, and he's politically smart. He has sought to build a platform or a base, and he's not afraid to take on seemingly unpopular positions such as The Voice. That has mired him, obviously, in controversy. There's every chance The Voice will succeed. What are the ramifications for his leadership? So Peter Dutton is a conviction politician, but if you're suggesting, Tim, that he needs to take even more prominent stances on issues, I'd agree with you. He's got to take some risks.
You've got to get him right too, don't you?
You've got to get him right. You've got to get the issue right. You've got to get the timing right. But you've got to have a go. An opposition leader who ducks for cover generally does not succeed.
Yeah, it falls away. Now, the Defensive Strategic Review has been handed down. Did it strike the right balance?
Absolutely. A very impressive document, arguably our most important defence, security, strategic paper in decades. It sets out bravely, I thought, China's territorial expansion by name and in detail, sets out that the Americans cannot by themselves check China's expansion, declares the Indo-Pacific as the most important and conflicted region in the world because it brings China and America head to head, where, unlike anywhere else in the world, it allocates the right priorities, which are over-the-horizon defence capabilities as a deterrent by way of missiles and nuclear submarines. Very impressive document, which is why the government's accepted its 62 recommendations unchanged.
Anthony Albanese is going to turn his South Sydney hat around tonight. He's going to be the DJ at Kyle Sandilands' wedding. Now, he was damned if he did or damned if he didn't. You know, he was hiding to nothing because he'd come on and said that he was going to do it. And if he didn't do it, Kyle Sandilands, who has a huge voice, would just absolutely rip him apart.
Correct. Look, Kyle Sandilands not everybody's cup of tea. Some people are going to find it tacky, but he revels in provocative behaviour to establish norms or social niceties. Albanese promised during an election campaign to go to the wedding, so he had to accept. It's the power of celebrity or the era of superficiality. I don't blame the Prime Minister going to the wedding in the slightest. He's allowed to choose his friends. Would he go now if an invitation was issued privately and not publicly? I doubt it.
Will he be a bit careful with who he gets photos with, do you think?
Yes, there will be some colourful characters there, and it may be a fairly short appearance, perhaps for the vows and one or two dances. I think he'll be the first to leave.
He'll play a couple of Dexy Midnight Runner songs and get out the back door. Always good to see you.
Thanks, Tim.